Right there, right on, everyone. It's Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Evan, joined by my co-hosts Lauren and Bruce, as usual. And guys, we have made it to the Nintendo DS. I'm not even sure if this counts as Adventure Era anymore, but I included it here anyway.
I mean, it was released in the adventure, what people consider the adventure era.
Yeah, I mean, this game was released on the same day as Shadow the Hedgehog, which is
And
weird to think about.
that is weird to think about because I don't associate GameCube game coming out on the same day as a DS game.
Well, and I just consider the atmosphere of Rush feels so much, different from Shadow that it's
It,
like,
yeah, oh god, yes.
Well, yes. Shadow was going for something very particular, and Rush is not going for that.
yeah.
That's very true.
And there was also a huge time difference in when I played Rush versus Shadow because, this
Mhm.
is our nostalgia era of the series more so than the
Right,
classic games, and so I remember playing this game and its sequel especially a lot on my DS back in the day.
right.
Right there with you. You were talking about releases. This is a unique game in my mind when it comes to releases, because this is the
Mhm.
first Sonic game that I played that I was aware of, and I was like, oh, it's a new Sonic game, and I'm
Oh,
playing a new Sonic game.
oh, interesting.
Before this, I was like playing old, at least to some degree,
Right.
Sonic games.
Did I buy this game for you?
No idea how I got it.
You just ended up with
It
it
it might,
somehow.
maybe it was you.
I got
Yeah.
you something Sonic on the DS as a birthday gift. It was either this or Classic Collection.
Oh, it wasn't Sonic Chronicles.
One of those two. No, I have specific memories of when
Oh,
I got
okay.
Sonic Chronicles, which I
Ah,
can share when
okay.
we get there.
Right, right, of
There's a
course.
funny story with that, actually.
Oh, I look forward to it.
Yes, but this
All
is
right.
Sonic Rush, and Rush is a great word to describe it because not because this
Yeah.
game was rushed, maybe it was, I don't know, but because this game is a rush. It is even faster than Advance 2 and 3.
Well, because
Oh yeah.
isn't this the first game with the boost?
This is the first game with the boost. That's probably the reason it doesn't feel totally like an adventure game, is because we still have the
Yeah.
boost today.
To
It's
be fair,
changed a lot, but,
it's not like this is standard boost formula. This is 2D boost.
yeah.
It is funny because, yeah, when I first played this game, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a boost. This is a fun mechanic. Like, I had no idea how it would radicalize Sonic gameplay. It's crazy.
How much it would kind of railroad Sonic gameplay. Also, we'll
We'll get
get to
there
that
when we
when we
get
get
there.
to
I
it.
remember that amazing catchphrase for the show as to how much we say that. Anyway,
We're never gonna stop.
yeah. So this game it brought a lot of nice things. It brought a new character that I like at least. I say we, probably you guys too, but
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
and
No, I like her.
and it also brought. I think the weird thing about this game is that you have two characters. You don't have Tails or Knuckles or Amy or Cream. They're all in this game, but they're not playable. Instead, you just have Sonic and newcomer Blaze the Cat, who is one of my favorites.
I mean, well, we've only got one game with her so far, and she's probably one of my favorites now.
I
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
I think that she kind of took the fan base by storm back in the day and held it for a while,
I
for
can
a
see
couple
why.
reasons. One, her gameplay is the same as Sonic's. Her only difference is that her spin dash is a bit worse, but she can glide it with the R button, and I think some of her tricks send her higher. Which this was during an era where, from Adventure to Adventure 2 to Heroes, characters in Sonic games were playing less and less like normal Sonic, and they didn't feel as
Right.
comparable. So the
Well,
simplicity.
well, I think that's something we even brought up when talking about adventure is that some of the gameplay feels a little, some of the non-Sonic gameplay feels a little on the half-baked side.
And then the other thing is that Blaze is just unambiguously like. Well, for one thing, she has a proper character arc, which almost nobody gets in these
Right.
games. But she's also
Yeah.
just a female character who is just cool, and there's no asterisks to that.
Yeah, no, she's a female character that isn't like either Child or Amy.
I didn't think about that.
She's just
But I guess
cool.
that's true.
Because Amy is, she's got the overbearing personality, or at least she has had it since, like, Heroes or Battle or some such, and still has it in this game to some extent. And Cream is just, she's fine, but she's a child. She's not
Yeah,
cool.
she's a child, exactly. Blaze is just like she's I mean, there's a reason why I see a lot of people comparing her as being like an alternate version of Sonic because she exudes that energy.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember the plot of this game?
Yeah, the plot of the game also kind of goes into that.
Yeah.
but she exudes Sonic-like energy.
So just, when our principal female cast are overbearing, child, and over-sexualized, having someone that's none of those things is
Right.
a breath of fresh air.
It really is.
But this game has two stories, but only one set of levels. You unlock Blaze by finishing the first stage with Sonic, but the levels they travel through are identical. They just go through them in a different order.
It's an interesting idea. I kind of almost feel like Blaze should have been the first story because she's a little easier.
I think they just should have both been unlocked from the start.
Well,
But
I mean, yeah, or they should have had different stages, but that would have been more development time.
yeah,
They kind of get around that by having them be done in different orders.
but we're gonna break from our usual Sonic tradition and just talk about both stories before we get to the stages because it's kind of hard to do that otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
Which is fine because Sonic's story in this game is by far the more insubstantial and worse of the two from a writing perspective.
All right. That's.
Maybe that's just
Yeah.
me.
I mean,
That
you're not
sounds
exactly
like
incorrect. Honestly, the way I would describe it more though is Sonic's story is just standard adventure. He's
Right.
running the same kind of story as you've seen in Sonic Advance 1, 2, and 3.
Right. That's
It's
kind of
it's only
what I
Blaze who actually
gathered.
has something more.
Right. That's kind of what I gathered. Sonic's story is more on the lines of go fight the boss and collect the emeralds.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
I mean, Sonic
Whereas
doesn't
Blaze-
even have a cutscene to start out. It just, you click him and then it goes
It throws you
right
right
into
into
the
the page.
stage.
I feel like he's just running around and then suddenly, oh, Eggman again.
I feel like
It's
that's
hard-
how a lot of the games start.
It's hard to tell in this game because multiple times, it's like you have the first stage, and Sonic beats down on Eggman, good old times, etc. And Eggman drops a magic rock, which is not our usual set of magic rocks, and it is suddenly engulfed in flame by the mysterious Catwoman, not Catwoman from Batman. You know what I mean? And Sonic's like, "Oh, that's weird," and then she's like, "Well, thanks for doing my job for me," and then she leaves, and you're like, "What was that all about?" And it's only after that that Sonic and Tails are like, something mysterious is going on.
Before any of that happens, you fight a boss, and then Eggman is like trudging away in his little Eggmobile, and it's funny because it's voiced, but the voice line doesn't match the subtitle for some reason.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you'll regret this, right?
Oh.
I won't forget this.
Yeah, yeah, Pollock says you'll regret this, but the subtitle says I won't forget this. Yes.
Right.
We are by the way rocking the Sonic X 4Kids TV cast in this game. I think we're probably gonna leave most of that discussion until Shadow the Hedgehog.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's mostly strewn throughout gameplay.
Yeah, we have a fair amount of cutscenes in this game, way more than any of the advanced games, and they've got the same sort of format with like talk sprites as Sonic Battle. But it's weird because they don't actually draw 2D art for expressions for them. Instead, they just pose the 3D models for different emotions.
To be fair, that's probably a lot
Right.
cheaper.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but this is the
imagine.
game where you'd want to do it instead of Sonic Battle, where they put all of their gigantic story into.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can't disagree with that.
And like the advanced games did it too when they had cutscenes. But
Like 3 times they had cutscenes.
yeah, Sonic story.
I do like it though on the level select when you have Tails or Cream on the other screen. They'll kind of just be bouncing around. But if you leave
Mhm.
them, then they have cute little animations.
Oh
Yeah, they
yeah,
get sad when you stop playing.
yeah, I noticed that.
It does mean that whenever you're fighting a boss, they're continually shouting at you, though, and I don't love that.
I did have to end up turning the volume down on my 3DS.
Well, that I don't blame you for. This is one of the loudest Sonic games ever made. Holy shit.
That is true. The game is very loud. I mean, most of that loudness I enjoy because it's good music, but it's a very loud game. It's a very extra game.
Honestly, I'm completely numbed to repeating voice lines at this point. So I thought it was a cute detail, and then it just became white noise.
Get a load of, get a load
Yeah,
of, get a
fair.
load of this. I'm trying to find things to say about Sonic Star, but it's really they just arbitrarily head to stage 2. There's no real like plot getting them there. They're just like, oh, let's keep moving. I don't know where
No,
we're
Yeah,
going.
like I said, Sonic's
that's
just like,
it.
well, better go after
We got
Eggman.
yeah.
They're up to
It's not
something.
the plot is basically just deal with Eggman, fucko.
Well, it's more for Blaze than for Sonic, because the thing that happens in the second level is that when you get to the boss, you're like, oh, it's Eggman, right? No, no. This is Eggman's Smash Brothers alternate costume, a palette swap called Eggman Nega, from the alternate dimension.
Yeah, I like the bit where Sonic is like, all right, Eggman, stop it right there. And then Nega is like, huh, you're taunting me by not using my full title.
Yeah, and
But it also highlights the fact that the heck is up with that name?
okay,
It's
okay,
a
here we
very
fucking go.
strange name.
Oh
So,
boy,
this
alright.
dude, Eggman Nega, this dude ends up becoming a relatively prominent recurring villain in the Sonic series after this game for
Right.
most of like the 2000s, not really the 2010s as much.
Sure.
And I cannot understand why for the life of me, because he's basically just Eggman again.
He's emo Eggman.
He's not even emo. He's just a weirdly
got the
colored
colors.
version that's maybe a little less bombastic.
Yeah, so
Maybe I guess.
it's funny. It's become more and more apparent as I've gotten older. But when I was a kid, I was like, "Ah, cool! It's the alternate Eggman. That's rad because alternate universes are cool." But yeah, no, there's like nothing different about them, and it's
Right.
like I'm anti-Eggman. That's like what their name amounts to. They didn't even come up with a creative name. It just solidifies
Well, and especially
all
since
their
like
character is. Except they're not anti. They're just the same. They're the opposite version that's actually exactly the same.
yeah, because the alternate dimension in this
Oh,
game
yeah.
is not the reverse world, it's just another world. So the fact that it would even have a nearly identical version of the same guy as of this game that it does is weird on its own. The fact that his name is just the other guy's name with an extra bit added on the end. What do you mean?
That is stupid. They could have at least given him a better name.
Just give him a first name. You can still have his last name be Robotnik, and that would work better with his retconned backstory from later.
I don't know. Even call him like what's a different food other than an egg?
Um, Omelet Man. No, that's still eggs.
Right?
Um,
That's still eggs. Damn it, Devin.
Pork Man.
There you go.
Hammer Man.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I didn't really notice it way back when I first played this game. But it's quite true that there's a real big missed opportunity with Eggman Nega here, because on the surface it's actually a cool thing. It's like, oh, so Sonic has to fight, the alternate version of their
He has to
nemesis,
fight two Eggmans now.
and Blaze is also caught with the opposite, as we'll see in her story. But it actually amounts to like no difference at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, if they
yeah.
offered unique challenges to each other, like Eggman Nega, has different tactics or different fighting styles that would confuse or disorient Sonic, and vice versa, that would be
Or,
something
you know,
interesting. But they don't do that.
or just have different bosses.
Again, they don't differentiate much between the gameplay.
I know.
Yeah, that's to be expected.
Yeah, so shortly after all this, we do the same thing again. Basically, Sonic kicks the heck out of Nega, and he runs away. And he says, "You won't forget this," but he actually says, "You'll regret this," etc. Shortly after this, Tails is like, "Oh, now I see what's going on. There's just a gigantic rip in space time. Of course."
Okay, I'm
How
glad
did Tails
I'm not the
just
only
figure
way.
that
one
out?
move. Yeah, yep, we're all on the same page. We're all on the same page. It's such
He
a
used to
random
work
moment.
at Black Mesa.
Oh, okay, that makes perfect sense then.
Like, I get it's to be expected because it's a trope. Scientist character just
Right.
does all science stuff to
The
the
man is a
extreme.
goddamn genius.
Yep, that's right. Are you a scientist in a work of fiction? That
When you
means
do
you can do
all
anything
science.
with science.
Yeah.
They could have done this, but just learned about it a different way. They could have stolen intel from Eggman, who does already know about this, or like maybe the Master Emerald shows them something. There's no Master Emerald in this game, though.
The funniest part is I was expecting Sonic to either be surprised or do the classic "tell me that in English," but he actually just rolls with it completely. He's like, "What? Really?
yeah,
Okay,
sure.
wow. Well, let's fix that."
And it doesn't amount to much. They're just like, huh, that's weird. Let's keep moving. It's like, what are we going towards? I don't even know if they've identified that it has anything to do with
No,
Blaze at this point.
we'll just head towards the Rip in Time because that sounds safe.
Yeah, but they just kind of float to the next stage after that, and it really is like, wow, they definitely wrote Blaze's story first.
I mean, yeah, they wanted to write the new character, and then she realized, fuck, we have to include Sonic.
Yeah, but they don't get anywhere. They literally say after stage 3 something like, "We're not doing anything by just running around and fighting. There's no
Right.
point."
True.
So instead, they wander to Vanilla's house,
Okay.
and she tells them, "Oh, Cream came here with a new friend, and I don't remember her name, but she was purple," which I think is hilarious
I know who that is.
because what is it in Blaze's story? Doesn't she like sit down and have like tea with them or something like that?
Yes, she
Yeah.
does. She
Didn't even
does.
remember her name, jerk. And also, Cream is a 6-year-old, and Blaze is like I think an
Sonic's
older
age.
teen or something like that.
I would assume she's like Sonic's age.
Yeah, so it's
So
like,
that is a little weird that Vanilla's just like, yeah, go hang out with the. Well, I guess she probably thinks it's fine because Cream probably hangs out with Sonic a lot,
well,
and
and
Blaze seems
Amy, but
pretty
at least those are
responsible.
people that like she knows.
Yeah, okay, well maybe she thought, hey, Blaze seems responsible.
So,
Or excuse me, she couldn't even remember Blaze's name. Just this lady seems
so
responsible.
in Blaze's story, they make it pretty clear that Vanilla is being like way overly friendly to a foolish extent. So it's honestly not unreasonable to assume that maybe she picked that up from her mother. Who knows?
Fair enough.
I suppose. I want to mention this is the only time in the series, as far as I know, that Vanilla has a 3D render at all.
Really?
Yeah, and this is also the last game that she is in.
Oh,
Like, I don't even think she's in, like, the background of the Olympics games or something. Maybe she has, like, an artwork that you can unlock, in a sea of them that's just, the Sonic Channel
right.
key art or something. But she's gone
Interesting.
after this game. There's no gem roll in this game. Both these characters now exist only in comics and cartoons.
Interesting.
It's bound to happen with some characters
I
now
mean,
and then.
yeah, you know.
Yeah, Sonic and Tails get a stage 4, same, fourth verse, same as the first 3. It's after that things get a little dumb, where Sonic and Tails find a road blocked by an avalanche, and they're like, "Huh, what's up with this?" And then Knuckles is underneath there.
Oh, is that what was going on? I couldn't tell from limited portraits and
Yeah, they
whatnot.
never have images of any of this. They just say, "Huh, the road is blocked here." What,
Right.
Knuckles? Why are you? Yeah, it's weird. Frankly, it's like they've been doing Knuckles dirty for a couple games now. He's really reaching peak dumb guy transformation in this game, where he's just kind of bumbling around. There's no reason for him to be here. He has no role to play in the story. He's just here.
I mean, fair.
He's not the only character that happens with in
Uh,
this game.
yeah, that's true about Amy, who appears not
Yeah.
is she in the same set of cutscenes, or is she after the next level?
I don't think so. I think she shows up. Oh no, it's 2 stages from now. It's after altitude limit. But yeah, well, it was pretty clear that somebody told them, "Hey, wait a minute. Did you guys make a Sonic game and the story doesn't involve Knuckles and Amy? They're like, the
Well, that won't work.
they're like the main characters right after Sonic and Tails. Put them
Right.
in right now. Do it." They're like,
We
"Fine."
need to have every character in every game. That's how it works.
Yeah, everybody's here.
I'm imagining what it would be like if, other series followed that. Oh, they made Metal Gear Solid 4 and it doesn't have DARPA Chief Donald Anderson in it? My god.
Well, I mean, I
Are,
guess, yeah.
are you coming out in support of DARPA Chief?
No, isn't he dead?
Yeah, that was the joke.
Okay, I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, he dies in MGS1. That's the joke.
Okay, good. Just making sure we're on the same page.
In fact,
It's
he's
funny,
dead
though.
before the game even starts. The version you talk to is a decoy.
is
Anyway,
true.
Metal Gear Solid
That
is a
is
different
true.
series. Yes, so
Or is
Amy
it?
is here, Knuckles is here. Both of them suck.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like okay, actually, I agree with Amy. Knuckles, he kind of just barely shows up
Knuckles is
at all.
barely
He's
important.
the least. Amy shows up slightly more than him. Honestly,
Yeah.
he was kind of funny to see here because he's just like, "What do you do, Knuckles?" And he's like, "Ah, Daff, what the heck is going on? I'm so mad. I want to punch something." And it's not Sonic actually. That's what I expected.
For
Instead,
once.
it's the rocks. And then he leaves, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. Honestly, Knuckles just being Knuckles."
I suppose it's more using him as the slapstick fall guy than the dumb guy fall guy right now.
Yeah.
It could
Um,
be worse, yes.
yeah, and frankly, I'm not actually that bothered by Amy here. It's basically she shows up and is like, "Oh, Sonic, what's going on?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm looking for this purple," and then she's like, "What do you want with that purple?" She gets
Yep.
really jealous and possessive, but I like the way that they draw her sprite with like the righteous fury in her eyes.
Yeah, first of all, I didn't expect Amy to go that route. That's a new dimension of mania. But on the other hand, this is once again actually pretty funny, because yes, Amy is like, I'll kill you if you try to go out with someone else, and then Sonic is like, help me out here, Tails, and then Tails is just like, and then Amy's like, oh, I understand now. You're okay, we're cool.
Yeah, he just ellipses his way through it, doesn't he? I think it's one of those things where if we didn't have like Heroes in Advance 2, or if we didn't have like Heroes in Battle under our belt, it wouldn't really bother me. It's just it reads like a continuation of the things I didn't like about her in those games.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely is.
Yeah, it really is.
But anyway, that's that, and they finally go out after that, and well, after what is it, Zone 6, they meet up with Blaze, and it's like they run into her incidentally, I guess. And they're like, "Yo, there's shit's fucked," and she's like, "No, this is my problem, not yours, and you should just butt out." And it's like, this is their universe, right? It actually
No,
is
but
their problem.
to be fair, Blaze considers this her problem because it came from her universe.
Yeah, I know. It's like, she has this whole character arc thing where she has to be able to accept help, and we'll talk about that in her
Right.
story, but it's
Right.
like, you should be a little more reasonable in general, regardless of whether you're
Well,
accepting
yeah.
help.
I mean, yeah, you should.
So, first of all, yeah, it's true what you say, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see like a prequel story for what Blaze was like before this game.
That
But
would
the
be
way I read it was she's totally used to being completely respected as like the guardian of the Soul Emeralds. She's
interesting.
never had anyone try to barge in before, so she's just like no, like she won't have it at all.
That's a
And
fair
so I don't
point.
find it terribly unreasonable the way Blaze reacts. The way I do find it reasonable is how Sonic reacts to this, where he's like, I'm gonna help you. And then Blaze is like, no. And then he's like, no, I will. And she's like, I'll beat you up and just so I can do it on my own, which, okay, maybe that is a little bit stretching it. But what's really stretching it is when Sonic is like, oh yeah, sure, I'm down to fight just so that you can let me help you. What?
I love punching women.
Jesus Christ.
It's a weird exchange, I guess if they really are just, a couple dumb teenagers bickering, this is the sort of thing Ken Penders would write them doing.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong, but
He
I
would
hate
he
the
would
fact
have
that
somebody
you said
turn
it.
to the side and say, "Oh, they're both so hormonal."
Oh God. Just hearing that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, anyway, the hilarious result of this, of course, being that they do actually fight after the next stage.
They do, that is true.
Oh, I thought
Um,
you were actually talking about that. I got those two scenes mixed up. But
again,
yes.
it's not that big a deal because the levels themselves don't have a whole lot of relevance to this, and it's fine. It's not actually that bad, but it's you do that boss, and it's like you have Eggman and or Eggman Nega in the background just kind of enjoying watching this, which I think is fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is funny. And it's weird. When I was a kid, I was just like, skipping through the text. I was like, okay, whatever. Now they're fighting. So I was thought, oh, yeah, ha ha ha, it's Eggman, Egg floating in the background. They must have like pitted the two of them against each other. Like that was literally the way I thought the story had gone. And then this time around I actually read, and so I'm like, oh, there's literally no reason for this to be happening. So it's super blatant that the two of them are fighting, and then the villain is just there like eating popcorn, and Blaze and Sonic don't seem to care at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and it is. Yeah, that's funny, and I'm at least glad for the end of this fight where they finally sit down and talk to each other, And it's weird because, you know, if you only do Sonic's playthrough, or if you do that one first, you're sort of seeing the resolution to Blaze's character arc without particularly seeing how she got there.
Mm-hmm.
It really only works as well as it does in Blaze's playthrough specifically. And thankfully, the stories are exactly the same after this point, so we can talk about that right now. Thank God Sonic's is so much less interesting.
I don't know when was a good time to bring it up, but I'll just lay out how it goes in Sonic's story first, I suppose, which is that they're like,
Right.
okay, fine, let's not fight. And then Eggman Nega in this case is like, hey, you may have kicked me, but I have the ultimate thing that's going to destroy the world. And then Blaze is like, I gotta take him. And Sonic's like, no, I got this. And then Blaze is like, okay, sure, just go do it. Go do it. That's what working together is all about. It's just letting Sonic save the day.
I mean,
And
that
then
is a
Sonic
lot of
saves the day.
Sonic games' definition of
That is a
teamwork.
lot of, yeah, that is.
Alright, well, fair enough. I guess that is a difference, especially since Blaze fights her own version, which I guess, do they just have two big robots?
You know, I was holding off on that, but okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
All right.
These two stories, I did allude to the fact that it's adventure again, but not just because you don't understand how the fights end, because you don't actually understand how the story, like the actual story, went together. They actually do a pretty good job for most of the game of being like, oh, you know, it's two crossing stories.
Right.
Some of the scenes with the two characters are often literally the same or almost the same. But yeah, the ending is a little strange here because yeah, it's possible that there are two robots. I guess that's a possibility. You know, I hadn't thought of that, to be honest. But in Blaze's version of the story, they're all like, okay, let's work together. And then Tails is like, it's a note from Eggman. And they're like, oh no. And it's like, Cream's been kidnapped. And then they're like, oh no. And then Blaze is like, I'll get Cream back. And the song's like, okay, you go do that.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
So I guess
Oh, yeah.
it's possible that Sonic blows up Eggman Nega's giant robot, and then he's like, "Yay!" But it's weird because his ending scene makes it look like he runs off into the sunset like he always does.
Yeah, with
Um,
Amy chasing him.
the real bit of confusion here actually comes from the fact that if it's Sonic's first and then Blaze's, Blaze would have been like, "Oh yeah, you go stop Eggman Nega," and Sonic would be like, "Great." She wouldn't have insisted on helping. And if it was instead Blaze's and Sonic's, then Blaze would have gotten the Soul Emeralds and still wouldn't have cared about helping because she completed her mission. That's the thing. And that's what she's focused on. So that's the reason it doesn't make any sense. They play it off as if in Sonic's story, Eggman Nega has the Soul Emeralds, even though that's the whole point is he doesn't. So I guess you could say that
because Blaze has been getting them from Eggman this whole time.
Right.
In her own story, which we are going to talk about now, I have decided.
yeah, go ahead. I'm surprised you let me talk that long.
I was going to actually stop you with lethal force. But anyway, so
nice.
Blaze is a good character. She is an imperial princess from the Sol dimension and has found herself in Sonic's world, or rather Earth, whatever we call it. That's a whole discussion unto itself. But she is the guardian of the Sol Emeralds, which makes her a little bit Knuckles-like. But either way, they're missing. They've been taken by Eggman, I assume, and she has
That's
to get them back.
confirmed later,
Yeah.
so yes.
Yes, it is.
Which is instantly a better method of progression. Like, if you had had Sonic and Tails collecting Chaos Emeralds this whole time, I know this game has its
Yeah.
own special stages, but that would have at least added some structure to Sonic's story.
Yeah.
But she's immediately overwhelmed, because the majority of Blaze's story here is a fish out of water story, where she's in a new location that she doesn't understand, doesn't recognize, and so she's like, how could I possibly do this? I don't know where I am.
Yeah, I like how they kind of first portray that because she encounters Dr. Eggman after I assume she's chasing him down.
Yeah.
And then is like, all right, you stole the Soul Emeralds, but I'm their guardian, so hand them over quietly or I'll make you. Which I think is really interesting because Sonic would never use that tactic. He knows absolutely that that Eggman would never surrender, but
Sure.
Blaze doesn't know Eggman at all, which maybe thinking about that, perhaps Nega is more likely to. Maybe I can infer
I
that character trait simply by the way Blaze acts. But I think the game is not that smart when it comes to Eggman and Eggman Nega, unfortunately. But I think it's a neat moment.
It's good, but it leads to Blaze being like, all right, I've got one. Now what the hell do I do? And the answer is that in the bushes there's a little rabbit, and as we know, cats kill and eat rabbits, so that's what happens here. No, I'm kidding. It's Cream and Cheese, obviously, and they're like, "Hi, I'm a small child," and Blaze is like, "Who left this small child out alone? I need to take this thing home."
this thing
Yeah.
The way you're describing this is
is very interesting.
not the way I expected.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we gotta have the you gotta have the little like oh, it's a small girl who doesn't know any better, and I have to act like an adult, but that leads me to let my guard down, and
Right.
long story short, they go back to airheaded vanilla can't remember a name's house, for some tea. What kind of tea do you guys think that they had?
Vanilla tea is not a thing, so my next thought is mint tea.
I don't know a thing about tea, so I don't know.
Neither do
Is
I.
Vanilla,
I'm
is
gonna say
vanilla
Earl
tea a
Grey.
thing? No, I was wrong. Vanilla tea is a thing.
I feel like most things have a tea flavor that says it's that thing, even if it doesn't taste like it.
Oh, well, okay. I was wrong. It's vanilla flavored. It's still just regular tea.
Like those infinite flavor Tootsie Rolls or whatever they have.
Right, yeah.
Um, anyway,
This scene is honestly quite funny though, because the more and more that Cream and Vanilla are nice to Blaze, the more just shocked she becomes.
The
Like,
more kind of uncomfortable she seems, also.
true. It's funny though because like she doesn't take anything from anybody in this game, and so it's kind of funny
Mm.
that Cream is able to like divert her. She even at one point realizes, wait, how am I letting this happen? But it's funny because I guess it's just because she's so taken aback by, what she sees as just, confounding behavior from a child. I don't know.
it makes me wonder what kind of like weird politics she as the queen or princess in this game had to deal with back home. That like
Yeah.
the idea of someone just being very genuine with her is like legitimately off-putting.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess royalty, she always has to deal with, kiss asses. Someone being actually genuine with her is probably shocking.
That could
Yeah,
be
I
it.
suppose. I suppose that's what happens when you're apparently princess of an entire dimension. I
Yeah,
don't know how
that's
that
an
works,
interesting one.
or how
Yeah,
that's.
that's certainly an interesting one.
But
Could be
yeah.
just
So
a case of, royalty declaring that they're, king of the entire universe just because they're that brazen.
Fair
Yeah.
enough, yeah.
But the result of this is that Cream's like, oh, I'll help show you around to help you look for your rocks. But it's like, oh, you should get help from Sonic. He's even better than me. Which I don't know about that. He struggled with Advanced 2's bosses compared to you. But Blaze is like, nah, we don't need no Sonics. I can do this all on my own, even though I'm kind of getting help from you anyway.
Yeah, well, it's the classic won't admit it, but she does start to realize later in the story, I wouldn't have
She
gotten this
does.
far without Cream. But at first, she completely brushes it off.
The
That is
defrosting
true.
Ice Queen trope, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because she's a fire princess, but you know what I'm saying. So
She's a fire princess, but doesn't use a whole lot of fire.
she's very controlled. Blaze is very
That's
understated.
true.
I mean,
Except
I don't know,
for when
every
she's
time you jump, you're in a tornado of fire. That's
Your
pretty
spin
excessive.
dashes, your
Well, and
spin
I was-
dashes are also fiery.
And I was gonna say that it's like except after the bosses when she gets the Soul Emeralds by flame kicking Eggman and team rocketing him out of the sky.
Okay, you can't deny that that's fucking rad.
Oh no, I love it. That's way
Yeah.
better than the end of Sonic's fights.
Yeah, this is great.
I don't even
always,
remember what the end of
I
Sonic's
always,
fights are.
he just snaps his fingers and he's
Oh,
like,
that's
darn,
lame.
let him get away. Yeah,
Yeah, shit, that's lame.
this always sticks in my mind, this game, because I played Sonic Story first because when I first played this game, because you start with Sonic Story, and so I just finished
Right.
it, and so I was like, oh, okay, that's just the way it goes. At the end of the fight, the villain always has to get away. But then when I played Blaze's story, she's like, oh no, you don't. It's so satisfying. And it actually adds just that little bit of reason for why Blaze is going these zones.
Well, and that same deal with getting the proper actual introduction to the Knuckles scene where he's just kind of hanging around, and he's like, "Hey, wait, are those emeralds you have Chaos Emeralds? You should probably give those to Sonic." And Blaze is like, "Wow, second bitch of the hour telling me to do this," and so she puts them under some rocks.
I,
First of all, that yes, you that's exactly how it goes in the game.
yeah,
Read it yourself. That's how the cutscene goes.
that is
Um,
exactly.
but second of all, is it just me who finds it very odd that Knuckles would see the Soul Emeralds, think they're Chaos Emeralds, and be like, "Ah, the Chaos Emeralds, yes, the thing that my ancestors guarded and has a close connection to the Master Emerald. Give him to Sonic." No, he should be like, "No, give him to me," if he doesn't trust her with them.
Well, this is what I was talking about back in Adventure 1, how it's like Knuckles cares about the Master Emerald, but his focus on the Chaos Emeralds is not as much. It's weird. Even though they should have, relatively similar cultural significance to him. Yeah. In any case, Blaze rocks Knuckles' world, so to speak, and they head to the next stage after that, obviously. At this point, they come across Amy, which I think it's funny, actually, that, like when you're first seeing Sonic ask about Blaze to Amy, you could assume that like he's asking her about this person that she doesn't know, but because woman, she feels threatened and jealous. But she actually totally did meet Blaze.
Yeah,
That's
that's true.
I like that Cream provides the plot justification, thin as it is, for meeting with Amy because apparently she has a sixth sense for detecting Sonic, which
Yeah,
that adds up.
that totally adds up, but that also means Amy has Sonic radar.
Yep.
She's
Also,
got
Amy, this game must confirm that battle is canon because Amy like threatens Cream or something, and Cream seems legitimately scared for her life.
Oh yeah, no, I was totally assuming this was coming off of
This is definitely coming
stuff
off
from
of
battle.
battle.
Yeah, I mean you're probably right. I think, but again, where the hell is General? Is he just like standing outside Vanilla's house, not doing anything?
He's turned into a statue. His battery ran out, and they didn't know how to charge him.
I mean, I can see why they wouldn't put him in this game, given that it's supposed to be the Blaze and Cream show for the majority of the character building.
No,
Because
I
if
get
he's
that.
if he's guarding Cream, then it's like that's a third wheel to their little adventure. And if he's just outside Vanilla's house, he appears for a non sequitur, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" Oh, that's from last game. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
So after all that, we get the Blaze and Sonic scene from before. I don't. Are there any major differences in the scenes that they share other than the last ones?
I don't think so.
no, not really. It's the dialogue is slightly different, but it's slightly different in the same way you would expect it to be, such as in like Sonic Adventure, where they change some of the words around. You're like, why did they even bother? But the meaning is basically the same.
Yeah, the dialogue is a little bland in this game anyway, sometimes. Like, especially, like, the solo Sonic and Tails scenes, there's just a lot of, let's do this. Okay, we should do this too. Alright.
It does feel, to me at least, a little less, almost blank to me in Blaze's story.
Yeah, it's not very punchy.
No.
But finally in here we get actually talking a little bit about the fact that Blaze is very emotionally closed off and doesn't like accepting
Right.
help from others. Get a little heart to
Right.
heart going on. Which is interrupted by Knuckles being like, "Hey, you jerk! Gonna be the third bitch of the hour to you now," and rah, but it doesn't work. They just leave.
Yep, that's right. When someone's
Yeah.
gonna punch you, just leave.
I'm not explaining this very well, but that's okay because we already
Fine.
talked about how the final boss goes, and I think Blaze versus Sonic is similarly scripted in her story.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Um,
thank God. Then just pretend all of that stuff that we said about the end of Blaze's story is happening now after that, so that we can finally talk about the game
Hey,
part of this
hey.
video game.
Wait a
Yeah.
second. Wait a second. Hold it.
Okay.
Wait,
Hold it.
Okay. Okay.
So I have one more note. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to come back to the whole story differences again because
I'm going to kill you.
no, you're not.
Yeah, you'll just fly away.
It's right. Because I'm talking about Sonic, so I get plot armor. Anyhow, there's cohesion with Eggman versus Blaze in this game, as we alluded to, where I was like, okay, eventually you realize, okay, so Eggman Maybe it's spelled out in the final story super clearly, but you could probably gather, oh, Eggman took the Soul Emeralds, and so Blaze is trying to get them back, and Eggman is having a bad day. But my question for you is, what is Eggman Nega doing? He's just running around being like, this is a crazy place.
I
And
mean, yeah.
Sonic is there, and he's like, Sonic, I don't know who you are, but I feel like I should try to kill you. We talked about how lame Sonic's story is comparatively, but there's literally just as he's running around aimlessly, even the villain apparently is running around aimlessly. I thought there would be like a reason that was revealed, but when
Yeah.
you
I mean,
read the two stories and you're like, no, Nega was up to nothing.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I
That-
guess
that
he
is
doesn't
very
really
true.
have a motivation. You're right. It seems like Eggman probably pulled the Soul Emeralds into here somehow. They don't really explain how it happened, and that took Blaze and Nega with it, and
Like,
so it's just incidental.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
yeah, but it's just weird because like Nega, I assume he didn't come with all boss robots too. I assume he built them, but I don't know what he's trying to do with them. It's just bizarre.
And they're
He's
just
just like,
conveniently identical to Eggman, so
well, yeah, but I'll let that slide because gameplay versus plot. But it's just weird. Blaze's story really highlights the lack of thought that was into Sonic's story. That's all I wanted to say. You want to move on?
yes.
Please. For
So
the
this
love of
video
God.
game is a video game, and it has stages and bosses and gameplay. So
Let's talk about all those.
I'm gonna go in Sonic's order. I know that's gonna be disorienting, but that's what we're doing. So we start off in Sonic's gameplay, at least, with Leaf Storm, the Green Hill Zone for this game. It has energetic music, lots of robots. They mostly follow the egg pawn line from Heroes.
Are there actual badniks in this?
There's
don't
some. There's a
think-
little bit, but
Are
not
there?
a ton.
Oh, okay.
That's true. Though I can remember a few. I had to think about it for a minute. But yeah,
Okay.
it's like Sonic Heroes basically.
Yeah.
So this game, of course, introduces the boost mechanic, as we talked about. You charge up. They call it the tension gauge in this game, mostly just by
Tension gauge?
smashing enemies and performing tricks on rails and from springs and launchers.
Yeah, I've gotten so used to rings also filling out your boost meter from later games that I kept forgetting that they don't do that in this game.
Yeah, I will always remember playing this game at first and not knowing you could do tricks.
Right.
And then I have to imagine it was probably Devin who clued me into that. And it was like, oh, that's a lot better.
Yeah, it's almost tricks are kind of necessary.
Yeah, well, and it's
well,
like
I got stuck on Night Carnival because of that for a while.
Oh.
I don't even know to what extent I told you that, because it's just that you may have found accidentally that, oh, if I press the B button, it does a thing. This game does... It's better about tricks in Advance 2. It's still a little weird, but at least, the R button has more functions. That's how Sonic does his air dash and homing attack in this game, which remain not reliable at all from Advance 2 and probably some character combination in 3.
Mm-hmm.
Blaze, of course, is a similar deal. Or, as we talked about, she has a hover glide with the R button. Her spin dash and roll sucks so much.
I don't know. I didn't find her roll that bad. Her spin dash isn't great.
Well, this game does have different physics from the advanced games, which were
Yes, it does.
fairly classic accurate most of the time. This game, though, your spin dash and your roll, it's not great with Sonic either. Like, one of the things that's in Leaf Storm here is those sections where you run all the way down a super huge hill and it shows off that, oh, we've got vertical screen space with the DS and 2 screens, and it has the giant rolling wheel thing chase you. If you run down just by holding a direction, you're fine. If you boost down, you're fine. If you roll down, that thing will kill you every time.
Yes, I noticed that.
I never even tried that. That's interesting.
That fucked me up a little bit.
Yeah, I roll occasionally, to defeat a badnik, but I don't do it that much, so I never really noticed. That's strange. I guess, yeah, you lose speed when you're rolling. That's not how, like, well, let me think about this. That's kind of true, but you decelerate like immensely, I guess.
Right.
And it does introduce. How do you guys feel about the 2 screens thing? Because the more I play the game, I don't think I like it that much.
I have to agree. That's probably my biggest complaint with the game is the 2 screens, which is kind of funny because that's like the big thing about it.
I have absolutely no problems with it, and in fact, I think it's pretty neat. I don't think it
it's a
gets in
cool
the way,
idea.
really. And I think
I
if
think
you're gonna,
if you're playing it on a DS, it doesn't get in the way that much. If you're playing it in literally any other way, it can start getting in the way.
you know that oh, are you saying as opposed to like a 3DS?
Well, I mean, like anything on the DS family. If you're playing it on like
Oh, or
an
like
emulator,
oh, okay,
that's
okay.
when it can
Well,
get
then I am
clunky.
going to use what I was prepping, which was, the developers only intended you to play on a
That is
DS,
true.
right?
That is true, and it's kind of intended to be played on the anything on the DS line,
Well, so
and
and the thing for me is that
You also realize that emulators can recreate the gap, right?
can they recreate the gap?
As
I
they
don't.
many at
can. It
least
doesn't feel
can.
great either way, but
Okay. To be fair, I
for
don't really use DS emulators.
for me, the bigger thing is that they use the aspect ratio at certain points to like telegraph stuff up above. That's the most use that it ever gets. I guess in like Deadline, I think it uses like top versus bottom screen for which gravity you're in, maybe. Although now that I'm saying that, I'm actually not sure. But for me, it's that you have all of this vertical screen space, and there are a select few points in the game that overtly rely on it. But what that
Sure.
inevitably means is that this game and its sequel, especially the sequel actually, are probably never ever going to get re-released or remastered, and that sucks because
Yeah, that
Blaze is
does
a
suck.
pretty pivotal part of the canon, and people cannot play these games.
That does suck.
I never thought about that.
I mean,
Huh.
yeah, because the games would have to be kind of completely rebuilt, or at
You
least
know,
reimagined.
That's true.
which they could
You
do
couldn't
that,
just
but just
put
they
them.
They
don't.
could, but well, that would be. I will give them credit. That would be a lot of work.
Well, hey, wait a minute. Couldn't they just like surely they could do some sort of classic, collection or something, and you would just have like a picture of a DS and it's just superimposed on that.
Oh
Like,
god, that'd be
can't you
terrible.
just do that?
Theoretically, they could do that. I don't want them
I'm
Yeah.
to do that.
saying
I
I
want the
wouldn't
full
say it would
screen
be
space.
good. I'm saying there's nothing stopping them from
Okay,
re-releasing the
so
game.
I
You're
guess in
right.
that way,
Although
yes,
the
that is true.
anything that uses the touch mechanics might be weird.
I'm pretty
Well,
sure they could pretty easily
the
fix
Meg.
that.
To be fair,
Surprise me about that. Maybe not.
The Mega Man Zero Legacy Collection had that same problem because the ZX games were on the DS, and I don't, from what I saw, they did not do it all that well.
Well, it's just
So
anybody watching this video right now is going to see my footage, and you can see the giant black bars on the sides of the screen. It's just like, God, this is so
right,
inconvenient on anything other than original hardware.
it really is. I mean, to
Maybe,
be fair, getting your hands on original hardware is not that hard.
not
I'm
really.
not saying you should.
Maybe
I'm not saying you should be forced to,
I
but like,
the one thing I'm thinking of is could they maybe render both screens and the space in between them and then just expand the sides out. That would mean that Sonic and Blaze are really tiny on screen, but that would be fine.
yeah,
And you actually want that because you want less screen crunch in a game that moves this fast. Either way, though, it's not actually that big a deal in Leaf Storm because it's the easy first level of the game.
that's fair.
True.
So it's like Leaf Storm itself doesn't have a ton of unique mechanics. And interesting, this game does have more unique mechanics than like Advance 2 stages, even though it's crazy fast. One other thing is that Sonic and Blaze are 3D models, but the background and enemies are all 2D.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of a little
yeah,
strange.
that one's an interesting one.
I don't know what's up with that. Especially
And
since
it's
they still have some of the same people from Advance working on this game, because this game has new Advance style sprites of Sonic, Amy,
Yeah.
Cream, and Blaze that are used
yeah,
only in the credits.
I noticed that. I thought that was cool, but also weird that they weren't used in gameplay.
Wait, I think I might know what it is.
Oh,
The boss battles are fully 3D, and they just
true.
didn't want to like make separate sprites for the characters.
You know what?
I
That's
guess
probably
yeah.
fair. And, on that note, let's talk about the bosses in this game, because I kind of don't like these.
Yeah, no, the bosses aren't great.
So it's not that anything is particularly abhorrent about
No, they're
dodging them
just
or hitting them.
boring.
It's
They're
that they
just
follow the
boring.
Adventure 1 scheme.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
to wait for them to attack and finish attacking, and
yeah.
then you get to hit them exactly once, and then you have to wait again.
To be fair, for me, that was the exception to that was Water Palace's boss, because I broke that boss's AI somehow.
Water Palaces is okay. We'll get to that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm curious to see if anyone else had the same experience I did.
For right
Okay.
now, we're dealing
Anyway,
with
yeah.
what is this? Egg Hammer 5?
Oh, whoa,
con-
a hammer boss. Who would have guessed?
Is it considered an Egg Hammer? Oh yeah,
Yes,
it
it
is.
is.
What it's named.
It's Egg Hammer Mega.
Yeah, to respond to all you were just saying, though, I know intellectually that you are objectively correct and that it is a poor decision to follow in Adventure's footsteps here. But when I was playing this as a kid, I had absolutely no comparison. And so I was like, oh man, it's a cool boss fight. And so these bosses will always get me pumped because I remember how I used to feel. And I mean, the music helps a lot. I think the boss theme, Metal Scratchin', is pretty rad.
Oh,
The boss
absolutely.
theme is pretty rad.
You know, basic boss themes are kind of hit and miss. I feel like in Sonic, often very forgettable, but not this one.
No, and that's the case for everything in this game. Hideki Naganuma did the soundtrack to this game.
The
and
CEO of Funky Fresh Beats.
Yes, because I became a Jet Set Radio fan after this game, but now it's like those soundtracks for those two games, and maybe Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, we'll have to see, are so deeply embedded in my memory that it's like I can't not think of them when I'm playing anything with his music or just seeing him. It's like nowadays
Right.
Hideki Naganuma is better known as like the Twitter shit poster.
Right.
For just like English practice, he would just repeat things that people say to him, which is funny. He seems like a perfectly nice dude. It's just funny.
He does, but it's
Uh,
funny to see him doing that.
But relative to this game, yeah, heavily sampled funk beats the whole way through.
Yeah.
I love Metal Scratchin'. I love Right There, Right On from the first zone. This is the only game where I can remember every stage theme and boss theme, their names off the top of my head. This is the only Sonic game like
really?
that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, it does mitigate a lot of the annoyance of some of the bosses, because it's like none of them are like super duper hard, most of them.
Not particularly. They're just, again, as I said, I think I just found them boring over anything else.
I think if you could bounce off of them and hit them like the classic games, it would not be nearly as big a deal.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
yes, but you'd have to fundamentally redesign a lot of them because
Some of them.
most of them aren't there for very long, so you would only maybe get like
Mhm.
2 hits in instead of 1. Honestly, I think the game's easy mode, it makes it a lot better because then it's just 6 hits instead of 8.
Yeah.
There's an easy mode?
Yeah,
I
same as the
literally
advanced games.
told you this, Bruce.
Oh, I forgot.
You can turn off the timer too, just like in advance.
Oh.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
Damn, that would have helped later on.
Yeah. So anyhow, easy mode is pretty good, and then they don't overstay
Sure.
their welcome too much, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, true. I mean, this is just the first fight here, but yeah, it's pretty repetitive. I must admit. He hits you, and then he hits you again, and then he rolls back and forth, and then he goes to hit you really hard. He says, "Get ready to be schooled," and I had not heard that phrase when I first played this game, so I didn't understand what he meant by that.
That's a weird thing for Eggman to say.
I must say, even though Tails and Cream's lines might get annoying, I will never ever be annoyed by hearing Eggman,
Of course.
cry out every time he attacks
Of
or gets
course.
hit.
Oh, we stan a king. Yeah. So, Zone 2, Water Palace, I would say, is among the more tolerable water stages in the series, just because you
Oh, yeah.
aren't underwater that long.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad I'm not just insane or something.
Yeah, no. A lot of the best water stages are the ones that are just thematically water and don't actually use a
Right.
lot of water.
Yeah.
Well, if you're playing as fast and frantic as possible, which this game wants you to do, you're not going to be underwater that long, and you're going to be
Right.
going into the water less often because you can boost to run on water. You've
But
got the
yeah, most of the time you're gonna be running on the water.
you've got slides and you got geysers to knock you up. You can ride the chains on the sea mines, which is a little weird.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
And you got the back to back in the soundtrack, which is good.
Yeah, I love that.
Which sounds a little bit Louie Louie, but maybe that's just a
It
coincidence.
does. No, I don't think it is. I think I read somewhere that it is either inspired or sampled.
Well, it's not sampled from it because it's a different sound.
Well, I guess. Yeah, sample's not the right word, but
It's a similar motif either
inspired.
way.
Yeah.
My only real gripes with Water Palace is that there are 2, maybe 3 of the, like, Advance 1 kind of do or die moments where they'll throw you at a platform with a death pit right under it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like that's where they were drawing from. Underwater equals bottomless pits sometimes, apparently.
This game actually has a lot of bottomless pits in general. It's just not as much of an asshole as Advance 2 with how it uses them.
Well, it has a lot of them, but they don't feel like they're in your way.
Yeah, it's more just that there's a lot of empty space in some of these stages, which might be
Yeah.
intentional because you're moving so fast.
Mm-hmm.
One interesting thing about these stages is that for the first time since Sonic 2, not counting the Game Gear games, I suppose, they don't change the music between Act 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's true.
They do
Right.
have 2 mixes of each track, and maybe it's because like the differences between acts in this game is not very pronounced, but instead, each stage has a music track for Sonic, and then a Blazy mix track, which that's really what it's called, that plays
it
on
is.
Blaze's version of the stage.
I do like that. That is pretty cool.
That's great. Yes. That was literally all it took, and I guess playing a different character to trick me into thinking that that the acts were actually different.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the acts were going to be at least a little different.
Plus, I went through all of Sonic's and all of Blaze's, and so I kind of forgot exactly how they went through. But yeah, those touches are appreciated. I don't know. I don't know the first thing about how difficult level design really is. It would have been nice if they had a different acts, but whatever.
I mean, I think the fact that Sonic and Blaze can traverse them fairly differently is enough. That's,
Right.
It's also the fact that they're in a different order, which, if you don't notice, the
True.
fact
Well, that's
that you play
another of those little touches that helps.
Yeah, although it leads to the difficulty of Blaze's stages being a little weird, because, like, Sonic, it's a pretty sensible ramp-up.
They do feel a little all over the place. I didn't think it was that bad, though.
No, because this just isn't the hardest game in the world in general. I was worried that I was going to find it to be the hardest game, or a hard game in general, but I was really only thinking of a specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, the boss of Water Palace is a roboticized Lapras?
It's a plesiosaur.
No, it's Lapras, the Pokemon.
Okay, fine. It's a Lapras.
No, I think both of those are the same thing, but
Yes, Lapras is based off the plesiosaur.
anyway, it is in this ring-shaped arena that is entirely underwater that sometimes drains the water, which makes you think that you're going to drown or that you have the possibility of drowning, but you can't.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
But it tries to bite you, it tries to smash you with its chest, and it tries to bite you in a different way where its head unchains. And it's better than the first boss because 2 of its 3 attacks still give you opportunities to damage it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
true.
just vulnerable a large chunk of the time.
Yeah, and I also broke this boss's AI somehow.
Yeah, what did you do? What happened?
I stood still.
What?
Yeah, no, I don't know what exactly I did. I stood still, and the boss just broke.
What did
what
it do?
way?
It just kept doing doing like the exact same move where I think it was the one where it swims around and then goes to try and bite you.
Huh.
It's
And so it
literally
just
all it
never
would
did
do.
the other attacks.
Yeah, it never did the other. It did the other attacks once, like each one of them once, and then I stood still for whatever reason.
And that worked for what, 7 out of 8 hits?
6 out of 8 because I got it did the other 2 attacks once.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It was kind of wild. I wish I had a way of recording it so I could have sent it to you.
Very, very strange. Fun. Well, That's neat. I hope we can see more weird things like that happen. Anywho, time to go to Zone 3, Mirage Road. It's a desert stage, everybody.
The music is so funky.
Music
You
is
like,
very funky.
what is it called? Ethno Circus?
Yes, that is what it's called.
And this level is alright. It's got a lot of pharaoh statues, it's got pyramids, it's got weird swinging box things that are kind of like the things in Ice Cap Zone. The seesaws or whatever.
Yeah.
You step
You
on
know
the...
what it also has? Enemy gauntlets.
Oh yes,
Okay.
the enemy gauntlets.
Speaking of pace breakers, so this is really kind of like a Sonic Heroes or Shadow scenario where
It is,
you will
yeah.
sometimes get in a room and the doors will lock until you beat a bunch of enemies.
It's literally Sonic Heroes because some of the enemies have health bars from Sonic Heroes as well. It's only ever up to 3 hits, so it's not as bad at all. But it's the principle of the matter, and it annoys me.
Yeah, it has the witch
Yeah.
enemy and it has the big hammer bros. That
Yeah.
is to say, bros that have hammers, not hammer bros from Mario. And yeah, obviously these are much faster and less horrible than enemy gauntlets
They
and
are.
heroes or probably Shadow. Again, it's been a while, but it's still a pace
Right.
breaker.
It's definitely a
100%.
pace breaker, but I can handle this pace breaker.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
that pace breaker isn't too bad.
Yeah,
it's
because it's not that bad of a pace breaker. I think is the way to look at it.
right. It's the end of the stage that we have to worry about in that regard.
Yep.
So
Yep.
both acts of this end with you on this moving platform that drops rocks and robots on you.
Oh yeah.
And it is very samey and is basically just, what is it, like a minute and a half each time?
Yeah, it
I
goes
don't.
on forever.
I feel like it didn't feel that bad.
I don't
Good for
know.
you.
It's annoying in Act 1. In Act 2, it explodes and falls into some water. Is there an
Yeah.
oasis here? And
Yeah.
this is a
Sure. Why
really,
not?
really weird section because you have this pseudo 3D movement here against enemies, except
Giving me Sonic Battle flashbacks.
the enemies can't even move in 3D though, so you can just stand there if you're not on the same plane as them.
That's
Yeah.
true. It's like you've been hit into 3D mode, and the
That was
enemies
really weird.
don't recognize it. You are a 3D character in a 2D world.
And it's hilarious because we finally have 3D models for Sonic and Blaze here. They still don't actually turn to move forward or backward from the camera though once you do
As I
that.
said, Sonic Battle.
Very, very weird. Again, not an intensely frustrating level, but those two things bring it down for me a little bit.
No, it's
Yes. Yeah.
very Labyrinth reminiscent, without being, horrible.
And the boss here is a dung beetle, except instead of shit, he rolls spiky death.
Absolutely incredible. I could see Eggman making a robot based off a dung beetle. It's perfect.
Yeah, definitely. This is also the point where I kind of noticed a lot of the bosses also feel the same.
Yeah, I think it might be the fact that this one and the previous one both have ring-shaped arenas, and so does the next one.
That doesn't help.
I mean, this one at least has going for it that, there's a bit of a puzzle at first because you're like, oh,
Sure.
I can't hit the boss. And then you
Right.
realize you have to use its own projectile against it. So
Right.
that
I'll admit I
differentiates
did
it a little
me the
bit.
first time.
Yeah, I think it might be in part that there's only so many ways that you can attack them. You just jump. You either jump into the boss or you jump into the ball, which hits the boss, which is basically the same as jumping into the boss, except for when it jumps over the ball. I do like that. That's funny.
Yeah, most of the bosses in this game have like a ramp up for one of their attacks when they're on low health, which I like. The music also gets more intense.
Yeah, the pinch mode. But that limits your attacks because you can't boost in these fights, which feels like a missed opportunity.
That does feel odd. Like
This
that
would
feels
be
like
fixed in later games. But yeah,
Alright.
for this one you can't, strangely.
yeah.
Again, not an intensely frustrating fight, just it goes on a bit. Before leading into Stage 4, Night Carnival, which is not the same as Carnival Night, although it contains roughly the same amount of lights out. Because both of them
Yeah.
have dark bits in Act 2.
So
What do you guys think of the music of Night Carnival?
It's a lot.
It, yeah.
Ska Cha Cha is
I do like it, but it's a lot.
I have no idea if it's good, but it's definitely the most.
It is the most.
I think it's difficult to get like circus themes that sound not stupid. Some games can achieve it, but a
I
lot of games
mean,
don't.
Carnival Night Zone is what I like to refer to as evil clown music.
Yeah,
I did not
but
come up with that, by the way. Kayla found that in a YouTube video.
I'm not really a fan of Carnival Nights music, to be honest.
that's why you
I mean, I'm
gotta
not
use
saying
the
I'm
proto tracks.
I'm not saying I'm a fan of it. I'm just, I'm pointing out that it's evil clown music.
No, but I do like Ska Cha Cha as a track. It's
It is
certainly
fun.
energetic. There's a lot of weird vocal samples that I cannot tell what the hell they're saying.
That's the case for a lot of vocal samples in this soundtrack. But yes,
Yeah, I guess I don't know what most of the vocalizations in Back to Back were either. So anyway, the stage itself is fine. I think I find this to be the most middling stage in the game. It's not like terrible or anything. It has a couple of those do or die moments, but not as many. The main thing is like it has like timed button presses that you have to wait for to activate platforms and rails.
That one threw me off a couple times because I didn't notice there was a button or something.
And there's like spring launchers that you have to charge by ducking on them.
this zone starts to really have a lot of fun with throwing enemies right at like the edge of where you're trying to go in the
Yeah.
air.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
That's kind of annoying.
That is kind of annoying, yeah.
Yeah, the purple bat flying enemies that have like weird lips. Those are
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
weirder badniks in the game for me, but yeah.
Those
don't
are a
mind
little
those.
odd.
I do like that they bring back the Vegas style egg pawns from Casino Park and Heroes.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there's a lot of reuse of designs from Heroes in this game, which makes
It was-
sense.
It was current when it came out, yeah. So
Right. No, that makes perfect sense.
I do not have much admiration for the boss though. This
Yep, boss. I consider this to probably be my least favorite boss.
Seriously? Neither you liked this boss? I
No.
thought that this boss was actually not too bad at all.
well, so
Um,
it's like a merry-go-round, right?
Yeah.
uh-huh.
The problem for me is that you have to hit one side of the pendulum to knock the cockpit into damage range, but the pendulum spends so much time being electrified, and it seems to be random when it stops.
Feels like it.
Yeah, somewhat. There's some randomization in it. I like that it's like, are you gonna try to jump now? Are you gonna test your luck? Like, because when it starts to get really fast, you really have to jump in advance before it even stops being electrified, and so it's kind of like it's a game of chicken, actually, kind of is what Eggman
Huh?
or Eggman Nega is playing with you here. Also, I have to give it credit because a lot of the bosses, you just wait until they're vulnerable and then you hit them. But this boss does give you an actual alternative way of hurting it. Sometimes little like I don't know, what are they, roly-poly-esque badniks
Oh yeah.
appear on the ground, and you hit
Hmm.
them, and for some reason they launch you super high in the air so you can hit the cockpit while it's still raised up, which I like.
You can do that. I would say that if I could just accurately predict when I was going to be able to knock the pendulum down, it would feel fine. I don't like taking damage due to RNG is the thing, which is sort of what you're describing there.
Well, yeah,
Um,
it's relevant to the theme because
Right.
casino. So
if I wanted to go to, I could just go to an actual casino. I'm not going to because
look,
I guess
I
technically
like
that
the
would require
boss is
driving all the
trying
way
to be
down to
unique
Nevada.
and interesting, even if it's maybe not the best to play. I give it credit for
Mhm.
that.
I suppose.
It
I
stands
I
out
do
as-
like that it
Yeah.
becomes so fast by the end of the fight that it's just complete chaos.
Exactly, that's what I was getting at. It like starts just the whole ground
Yeah.
becomes electricity practically.
It's just trial and error attrition. I don't know. Anyway, decent enough stage. Which leads into stage 5, Huge Crisis, which is a set of gun aircraft carriers.
Yes.
Hold on a
Well,
second. Gun? Sonic Rush? Actually? Seriously? I
Yeah,
have absolutely no recollection of this at
Yeah,
all.
that was a weird one.
When I played this stage, I had like a little double take, and I'm like, huh? Am I living in a different timeline where Sonic Rush it has gun in it? I swear I have memories of just egg ponds being in this zone like every other zone. It really threw me through a loop here. I think what actually happened is I played this game before Sonic Adventure 2, so I didn't know what gun was, and so I was
Fair.
like, oh, just regular badniks, and so it never got solidified in my mind.
Right.
But it was very surprising. Plus, it's super random. Why is gun here? There's no point.
they have
Yeah,
nothing to do with this story.
they don't. It's really weird.
Like, I don't know why Sonic or Blaze would be bothering with them. I don't know why Gun would be attacking back, really. And when you get to the boss, it's like, the boss can utilize parts of the ship to attack you, so maybe they've commandeered it? That would make the most sense, but I wouldn't know why they did that anyway. It just serves to make things confusing.
So I think that I have no idea how Eggman Nega is here, but it's confusing, like I said, his whole role in the story. But as far as Eggman, which the game seems to really care more about, I think that, Blaze is harassing him nonstop, and he is just getting really desperate. And so he is like, okay, there's a gun base nearby. Now, our theory is that Eggman supplies the military, right? So he probably has like a backdoor switch or something into their
Oh.
technology, and so he can go over. I mean, he has the egg hammer again, but it's been
Yeah.
upgraded, and he can just directly interface just out of the box apparently with one of their like ships, and so assumedly he like planned for that as in case a situation like this happened. And so he probably is there in secret, and Blaze is chasing them, and Gun is none the wiser.
Sure, close
Maybe.
enough.
Yeah. Makes as much sense as
That's
anything
my
else.
theory, anyway.
As for the stage itself, it kind of reminds me of Ocean Base from Advance 3 because you still have the sort of undersea industrial aesthetic. Though you get to
Right.
run on top of the aircraft carriers in this, and I do like the rocket platforms that send you from one to the next. So it's like most of the normal stage design is fine, it's pretty standard Sonic Rush, but
Sure.
this game does have, or rather the stage does have two things that I don't like, which is A, it has more enemy gauntlet rooms,
Yes, it does.
and B, it has about as many crushers in it as Advance 3's Ocean Base as well.
Yeah, at this point, I was
Huh.
like, I feel like the game is punishing you for trying to boost everywhere.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I guess, yeah.
It's not as bad. It could be worse. It's not a terrible, terrible stage, but it's like those are
Well,
two
no,
problems.
it's just on more than one occasion, I'm just living my life boosting forward, and the game is like, you fool, and then I'm
Right.
dead, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Any Sonic game with the boost, somebody will say the phrase "boost to win" at some point. And this is the funny other side to that, which is that sometimes if a game is boost to win and stops being that, it becomes a bigger problem than if the inverse.
Mm.
Where it isn't boost to win and then it is boost to win? I guess, yes. That's true.
Again, could be worse though.
Sure.
No, it's not that bad. It's just honestly, crushers are kind of funny sometimes. If they don't happen a lot, I have to laugh at them because there's something just blatantly mean about, oh, you're dead now in one hit. Like it's just, in my opinion, you're just trying to be mean with that kind of game design.
Yeah.
You really are, yeah.
So it's kind of funny when it happens just a few times, which it's not that much in this stuff.
And speaking of funny, you sort of spoiled this for us, no offense, but the boss
It was
is
not relevant.
it's just the egg hammer again.
It is. It's just a slightly upgraded egg hammer.
It's a cop out.
Yeah.
Like the only
Uh,
difference is that it doesn't roll around. It just throws missiles at you, and they're easy.
Kind of, I guess. Yeah, I mean you're somewhat correct in that it is reuse. I don't know. You are selling it a little short. It also has when it uses its insta kill attack, it can move, which always threw me off.
Oh right, it
When
can
I was a
track you
kid.
doing that. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
got me a few times. But second of all, I don't think they do this very often. So I actually think it's unique in that it's actually like a upgraded version of a boss battle, and it's a bit of a surprise too. It's like you wouldn't expect that, but yeah, I mean, if you're not a fan of the bosses, you're not gonna have a fun time with this. But I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Again, it's not like torture, but it's like, eh. But frankly, they could have done, frankly, anything, and it would have compared favorably for me to the next stage, Altitude Limit. You know, we talked about, like, not really understanding Gun's presence in Huge Crisis. I don't even know what this stage is supposed to be. It's just a bunch of rails and towers in the sky.
I mean, I just thought it was like a city.
Maybe, I don't know. What is going on here?
So
I
I
don't know.
thought that this was, now that they say, I'm about to say it out loud. I'm like, why would you construct such a thing? But it's like some sort of sky series of platforms and like levitating rocket platforms or whatever that leads you up into the base in space that you go to. But that's a
Sure.
really strange take a shuttle. But I could see Eggman doing that too. That's just stylish. Like
Sort of
not
like
a
Yeah.
shuttle. I'm gonna have
scaffolding on the
like
deadline.
scaffolding up into space, basically.
Yeah. I mean, sure, why not?
I'll tell you why not. It's because this stage sucks.
I mean, I didn't think it sucked. I thought it was fine.
It's not as bad as Sky Canyon, but I still don't like it. It still has a lot of bottomless pits, and it
I
has a
mean,
lot
yeah, but
of
I found the
dangerous
bottomless
jumps
pits
across
to be
tiny
pretty easy
platforms.
to deal. I don't know. I found all that to be a lot easier to deal with than
Well,
Sky
you played as
Canyon.
Blaze, and that's part of it because
I guess, yeah.
the worst sections of the stage are the ones where you have to stand on this little rocket platform and bob and
Yeah,
weave through enemies and
I'll admit.
walls.
Okay, I'll admit those are not great.
But you still had it easy with those, because if you fail that as Blaze, you can save yourself. Sonic can't. If he's too far to the left or
Sometimes
right, he's dead.
you can sometimes save yourself. Oftentimes, it is still a game out or a death.
And they knew that there was something up with this stage, because it's already a fairly linear level, but they couldn't design like bottom pathways for it. So instead, they just have these big fuck off lasers to replace bottomless pits.
Right.
It, I don't know. This
Yeah.
stage makes me mad. There's parts where I'm like
I
enjoying it. I'm like,
mean,
ha, it's fun. And then I get to one of the bits that I hate, and it's like, oh, right, I want to die.
you're entitled to be wrong.
I am somewhere in the middle, I think.
Well, I mean, okay. I want to make it clear. Also, I'm not trying to say I loved this stage. I just didn't think it was as dog shit terrible as Devin seemingly did.
Okay, well then
Hmm.
maybe I'm pretty much right with you, which is, yeah, I mean, it's not the best, but
But it wasn't like I want to go.
maybe it's just like I have to give them credit because I've seen them do a lot worse.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I admit it could be worse. I will not deny that.
Yeah, it could be Sky Canyon again. They could have just made you play Sonic Advance 2.
Well, and hey, this game does have this stage does have a unique thing, which is the best hang glider sections in any 2D Sonic game.
I had a mild panic attack when I saw. I'm not actually, well, not panic attack. I had a mild like, oh fuck moment when I saw the
You
hang
deserve a
glider.
panic attack.
No, it's true. Um,
Because that hang glider, what was it, Sonic 2 8-bit? I've
yes.
kind of, yeah. I did not know how the fuck that thing worked.
No,
I
it's
still
not
don't
that.
think I know.
It's quite trivial here. You're fighting a little bit with the whole you can't tell exactly where the sprites are in the 3D space
Yeah.
because they couldn't be bothered even to make 3D models for just this section. Like,
Yeah, just
Just-
rings.
please, the glider's 3D,
That's
no.
true.
no, not the obstacles. Honestly, just random. Like, I don't get why are these here? They're
Yeah.
easy and they threw them in. I don't know. It's strange.
Who knows?
It's a very strange sequence because it's the only thing in the game that's really like that. I don't think, maybe the Mirage Road section kind of counts, but not as much.
That's true, actually. That
Yes?
is similar. I hadn't thought about that. There's not a whole lot of those.
Either way, that's Altitude Limit, inscrutable weird stage, and the boss. I feel like I want to like it, but I don't.
It has button mashing, so I automatically don't like it.
Oh,
So
oh, yes.
I don't mind.
Um,
I don't mind dodging the machine guns, but they go on
No,
for a
that's
really
fine.
long time.
Yeah.
And then it does the fan attack where you have to mash the A and B buttons to run against it.
Yeah, they just couldn't think
Yeah.
of any more creative way to do than that. You could have just made like it's blowing obstacles and you just have to jump between them, but I couldn't think of anything. Yeah, this boss will always stick in my mind because it took me forever as a kid. Like this was a real roadblock for
Yeah.
me. I
When
had
it
to like get this thing down to like a science almost. It was literally
I
just
I can
inch
understand
along,
why.
bit by bit, learning how
Right.
each attack works because it has a lot of really confusing attacks. Like as you said,
Yeah.
where it shoots missiles in the air and you have to like run past it before it like angles downwards so it doesn't hit you, which is not immediately apparent. It's got a leap attack from the side where it leaps but it tries to target you, so you have to move like at the last minute so you can get ahead of it and then hit it in its weak spot before it leaps again. And then it has like a dive attack, which even this time I had to be like, wait, how does that work again? It took me a minute.
where it like
It when
stuns
it
you.
yeah, when it lands on the platform, it stuns you, and so you have to jump like a split second before, so you hit the ground and then can hit it without it stunning you and hitting you.
You know,
Yeah,
and as we're talking about this,
yeah.
I think the fact that this boss can kill you really easily, that's probably a big part of what contributes to me hating Altitude Limit, is because I have problems with the level design, don't get me wrong, but I bet you that part of my, like, irrational anger at this is that I would probably get through both acts, you know, and be annoyed as a kid, and here as an adult, actually, this happened too. And then I would get to the boss, and then the boss would kill me, and I'd get a game over. And this game does the Advance 2
Oh.
thing, where you have to restart from Act 1 if you get a game over on the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, somehow I completely forgot that. I would think I would remember that. But yeah, that's not cool.
I hope that hacking tools for the Rush games get to be as good as they're currently at for the Advance games now.
That'd be nice.
But, yeah, blah. Blah.
That's fair.
At least things are looking up, though, because the final stage is Deadline, our fourth nebulous Eggman space platform in the Dimps games.
Yes.
They have recurring elements. That is apparent. Um, man, I love the music here. You don't stop, you proceed because this is what you need. It's literally cheering you on to finish the game. It's perfect.
It really is. That I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and I love What You Need as a track. It's incredible, and frankly, it's like it's one of the only cases where like I get to it and I think this should not be Sonic and Blaze mix. This should be Act 1 and Act 2 mixes because Blaze's mix sounds like a Act 2 of like the stage because it brings in the more orchestral sound to it, which is really good.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's a great track, and frankly, the stage is pretty good. I would say it's certainly got like the least annoying gravity mechanics since Death Egg in Sonic 3.
Yeah, the gravity threw me off a bit because every time I see zero gravity, I'm immediately brought back to Crazy Gadget.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's never been like that in any of the 2D games.
No, it hasn't, but my brain has been tainted.
I think it's just that it's not super enforced with like death
No.
planes. There are some, and I guess that's probably the
There's
other
a
reason they
few.
use the death beams. But
Yeah.
it's like, you know, in Advance 1, you had a couple problems with it. Cosmic Angel is not that long a zone, so it's not a big deal. But then Advance 2, it's like Egg Utopia, especially the boss, is like, ugh. You know, especially if you don't know that you can switch it at will. And then Advance 3 Cybertrack is just like, So it's like, in this stage, it's mostly just that they usually use the anti-grav for, like, those sections with a whole bunch of, like, springs, or, like, you know, maybe some just enemy combat. There's never that much where you have to platform with it and feel really insecure about it.
Oh yeah.
And this stage has all sorts of little weird experiments that make it almost not feel like a normal stage. Like, it's got those weird propellers that you swing back and forth on to run on the ceiling. Or it's got, like, horizontally oriented walls that your character sticks to in 3D.
Yeah, I do remember.
Oh,
those are
those,
weird.
yeah. Those
But
are
you
weird.
can't turn.
Yeah, that threw me off a little bit. The rockets that that are completely out of control.
Oh, I
Always
hated
always
those.
panic me.
Yeah.
That was the one point in this game where it's like it definitely feels like there's screen crunch here because you can't see where you're going on those things.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that's on purpose because they are fast.
It
Funny
feels
you
like
bring up
an
screen
intentional
crunch.
challenge, but I still don't like it. Yeah, so it's okay stage. It's all right. The music enhances these stages so much you don't even understand.
Oh yeah, 100% true. Yeah.
Um, Going doubly for the boss of this stage, which is the other character. It's a character fight and probably one of the better ones in the series, I would say.
Well, you're half right, but we'll get there. So yeah. As aforementioned, I love it gets its own boss music exclusive to this
That is
fight.
cool.
I love when a game has the same standard boss music and then it switches up for an important fight.
Right.
It really adds to it. So that's neat. And yeah, the boss is I think it's probably on like the Knuckles battle in Sonic 3 level, where it's not that difficult, but it's not completely trivial. Well,
So,
to a point, of course.
Devin bringing up screen crunch actually made me realize what the problem I was having was. So, one of my notes says the D-pad / circle pad feels too small for the Sonic fight. And I didn't realize that the problem wasn't the controller, it was the screen. The screen is too small.
Are you don't have enough space to see Sonic properly?
Yeah, I feel like half of the time either Sonic's off screen or I don't know how to describe it. Just if I felt really cramped in the fight.
Well, I definitely get that because I think Sonic is the harder fight of the two because
Sure.
he can do like a whirlwind attack and he can even homing attack you,
That was all really annoying.
and it just makes him generally harder to hit than Blaze. Mostly what Blaze will do is I think she has fireballs, but most of what she does is just spawns flames under your feet, and that just means you keep moving. And since you're already trying to get, close to her anyway. But I definitely get what
Yeah.
you're saying if Sonic moves around too much that it's like the screen is
Yeah, I
too
think
small to see him properly.
that was it. Sonic moves around way too much, and the screen feels too small, and it just overall doesn't feel like a great fight.
No, it's really not all that, which is interesting because I just realized I think it's the only boss in the game where you can like always hit it. So that should be commendable.
I mean, unless they're jumping, but that's at least that's an acceptable reason to not be able to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love. Do they have different themes for both Sonic and Blaze in this fight?
I don't think so.
Okay, so just plays Villanova for both of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good theme, and it's generally considered to be Blaze's character theme,
Okay.
which is interesting to me because it sounds so unlike every other character theme we've had across these games, because it's Naganuma, of course. And I'll be honest, it kind of bothers me for that because it's like the standard character themes in these series tend to have like you get lyrics that kind of explain aspects of the character's personality, which is cheesy, but I kind of like it, and I wish that Blaze had something like that.
Fair enough.
But it is still a great track unto itself. So
It is.
Yeah.
However, this fight contains one thing that is the opposite of great in just about every possible way, which is that the final hit, the pinch mode of this fight, is not actually part of the fight at all. Instead, it is an absolutely insane sequence of button mashing X and Y to the point where you will literally get tired and have to take a break or reorient your controller or something.
Oh my god, yes.
Yes. This is
my wrist was like actually sore afterwards.
This is dumbfounding, actually, in how absurdly difficult it is.
It is abhorrent.
It's funny because I thought I was just bad as a kid, but that's not true. As a kid, though, literally got to this point in the game, and yeah, that was it. I was like, okay, I guess this is all I play. Like when I said Sonic's story and then Blaze's story, I did Sonic's story until this fight, and then I did Blaze's story, and then I did not beat this boss for like a month because it was ridiculous.
Well, the button mashing is insane. Like, honestly,
I seem to recall that me and my brother literally double teamed it okay, I'll hit one button, you hit the other button.
That's
and that was how we
honestly
beat it the first time.
I
fair
remember
enough.
that. I remember
Fair
seeing
enough.
either Ian going ham on it and like hurting himself, or you and your brother both doing it at the same time like that.
I mean, if that's what you need to do, that's fair. Cause fuck it.
Yeah,
No,
it's that you have to
it's
press it incredibly
stupid.
fast, and you have to keep
Yeah.
it up for like I don't
Yeah.
know a combined. I mean, it's if you
It
mash
feels
fast
like
enough, it
it's
ends quickly.
combined
But
like
when you're
sure.
a normal person, it doesn't.
Yeah, you have to be like a button
Yeah, for
masher,
real.
button mashing master.
That's a hell of a tongue twister.
It is.
Yeah,
To
like
really be able to do it in a decent amount of time. Other than that, I think it took me like probably close to 2 minutes to do because I had to keep pausing it.
not surprised. Yeah, I don't think this is anything new. I think it's well
Right.
known that button mashing is a stupid game mechanic. Um,
Yeah.
but you can do it a lot better than this.
Yeah,
Did they test this? I don't understand.
this is
It's just
easily the
strange.
worst quick time event in the entire series. It is never going to be this bad again.
Fair enough. I'm glad to hear that.
I guess technically Colors has button mashing, but it's extremely easy. It's no trouble at all. Unleashed has a couple. It has actually Unleashed has a lot of quick time events, but you don't need to just slam on the buttons super hard.
Right. No,
Yeah.
it just gives you one button to press and you need to press it.
That's another
I
thing
mean,
too, is you have to alternate. Yeah. So
Yeah. Maybe if
you
you were
cannot
just
just do
mashing the
one.
X button, it wouldn't like it would still be annoying, but it wouldn't be like impossible. So yeah, don't do that. But that's it. That's it for the normal game. We finally are reaching the final boss, the Egg King. Fought at Unknown.
it's
Yeah.
called. I thought it was called F Zone.
So that's final zone on the map screen, but the zone name when you
Right.
go there is unknown.
I guess. Yeah, the zone name is unknown.
And what makes it it just looks like a spaceship.
Space is the unknown.
It is the final frontier.
So I think it fits.
Does this count as Nebulous Eggman space platform number 7, 6?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 in this game, and I should have counted Advance 2 because I think Advance 2 has 2 in that game as well because there's Egg Utopia and XX.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I always assumed that they were just attached. Same here,
You can
probably.
see them on the map screen or not. But yes, final boss time. Egg King with the music track, which is called Bomber Barbara, which is the weirdest name for a music track I've ever seen, especially for a final boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird name, but man, it rocks.
Oh, I love the track so much.
It rocks a lot. It's a shame. I found this boss to be like really easy.
I had a lot of trouble when I was a kid, actually. This fun
Mm.
fact, this boss is actually what clued me in to the fact that the game had an easy mode because I couldn't beat it because
Mm.
the boss does follow the same formula except for the final hit and how you hit it,
Mhm.
which is the classic you climb up the colossus, you climb up the side of its
Right.
arm up and then hit it on the head, which is pretty cool actually. But what it does is with increasing frequency, it will just shake its arm around, and if you're not crouching on like its shoulder in like a little divot it's got, then it will throw you off.
Yeah.
And I swear, at the end of the fight, it becomes really, really, really fast in how it does that. And
Mm.
as a kid, I just couldn't do it. And somehow, I was looking around and like, oh wait, this game is an easy mode. And now I can beat it.
Yeah, I struggled with this boss as a kid, and then as a teenager, I got good enough at it, it was like perfectly fine. So whenever I was sitting alone at the lunch table because I didn't know where Bruce was at the time, like the first year of high school, I think I didn't sit with Bruce and the others because they had a different lunch schedule than me. But I would play this game, and I eventually got good at it. And now here as an adult playing it again, it's like, wow, I can't do this. People are gonna see in the footage that I get thrown off a bunch of times by this boss because
Oh, really?
I keep running up the arm and like air dashing and trying to crouch when it flings it around, and then I keep rolling, which doesn't count.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe I just got lucky.
I guess.
I think that maybe you're going into it with fresh eyes, so you might have had an easier time. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, because I did not struggle with this fight whatsoever.
I mean, it's not like the boss is a nightmare to stay alive in.
No, it's not. But like, I beat it really fast. I got an S rank.
Wow. Maybe
Huh.
you're just better.
Well, So, this
I
is just
doubt
this
it,
is
but
this
yeah.
is Bruce's special ability. Whenever two of us have trouble, he has
mean,
to
yes.
breathe.
You're right.
To be
We've
fair,
talked about this.
We've talked about this before. This happened in Adventure. I think this happened in the classic era a couple times. It's happened in both Adventure 1 and 2.
Yeah.
The only game I think it hasn't really happened in, or only like core game it hasn't happened in, is Sonic Heroes.
But Heroes had a variant of that because if we, it's Sid. I used some of his notes, but didn't get to be here in person.
Right.
But he did not struggle with the pinball at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
we'll
But
have to
anyway,
kill
we're
him about
talking
that. Come Shadow the
we're
Hedgehog.
talking about Sonic Rush right now.
Oh, right.
True, we are.
And I like the presentation for this boss. We talked about a lot of the giant mech bosses, don't really sell it too much. But I think this being in a 3D rendered
This one
arena,
generally does.
it actually sells. I think the
Yeah.
whole giant robot feel.
Oh yeah,
from
it tries to
Smash with
punch you
big
really
old
hard and it
arms.
flails
Yeah.
you out.
Yeah.
So I have to give it credit for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it has big fuck off lasers that it tries to hit you with that go really, really fast.
Yeah.
I always got duped out by those lasers because the laser itself can pass right through you. It's the fire that it leaves behind it that hits you.
Oh, interesting.
I love the attack that it's like, I don't know, it feels almost like something taken out of a bullet hell maybe, where it has the electrified like metal
The energy cube.
energy cubes that sort of direct you around and start overlapping with each other in weird ways, so that you have to position yourselves correctly so that you don't get hit.
Lauren, I think that you could become a Toho guy if you wanted to.
Oh no, I on the list of things I should try out. Honestly, it intimidates me a lot because the whole shtick is that it's ridiculous. But yes.
Yeah, no, so pretty cool boss fight. And I love that this also has different stage clear themes for the boss, because it has a jingle that's taken from the thing but is a little...
Right.
Yeah, it's rad. We didn't talk about the victory jingles. There are a few different ones in this game. I can't remember where all they happen. I think the Blaze Sonic fight has one, the boss, and then the zones, and then this one, and then one later too.
I think all of the bosses except the final boss just use a cut from Villanova, and the stages all use cuts from Get Edgy from Altitude Limit.
Right. Yeah, I must say I don't care about points, but just having the results screen where the character dances around for a second, it's very satisfying.
Yeah, and I'm not... Okay, I'm going to spoil a very minor aspect of Sonic Frontiers. The fact that they brought that exact dance and motions back for clearing the minigames in that warmed my heart so much.
Oh, that is wonderful.
That is pretty nice.
Yeah. So we get our normal endings with Blaze saving Cream from the wreckage, and then Sonic just blowing up the wreckage, and Amy's like, Sonic! And then she chases him. I do want to mention, in Sonic's credits, you have Amy running after Sonic with the hammer. At the end of his credits, she brings out an even bigger hammer.
Yeah.
What is she gonna do to him?
Kill him. That's what she does. She kills Sonic, and then they become married.
Well, if she can't have Sonic, no one can.
Amy is becoming like Femcell Joker at this point. It's really weird.
Jesus Christ!
I don't know if we mentioned before, but it's really jarring where the endings have like 2D artwork all of a sudden.
Yeah, they have like Sonic Advance style sprite.
Yeah, advanced style.
It's cool, but a little weird.
I think they're all done by Uekawa himself as well, which is like, it's weird because it makes it look like promotional like key art, like you'd see on the box art.
Right.
Yeah, it just doesn't mesh with the rest of the game's style, and so it's strange.
Which is why they should have done this for the other cutscenes, because like they're all good, none of them are bad.
Oh yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
just
no, they're good sprites.
strange. They almost feel like they're out of a slightly different game too, because like Knuckles and Amy are there, and it's like they're acting like they did anything, but they didn't. I
That's
wonder if
true.
someone drew the ending scenes. It was like, hey, look, and they're like, wait, why are Knuckles and Amy there? They're like, oh shoot.
The writers realized, oh shit, they're not in the game. We have to fix that.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't talk about its Sonic story because it has no relevance to the story, but can I just say, ending it with an Amy gag is like the lamest ending ever. It's stupid.
Well, and they've done that multiple times at this point. Because they did that in Heroes. Did they do that in Battle?
I think they did it at the end
I
of
think so.
one of the stories, maybe at the end of everything. I can't remember.
I guess yeah, technically they did it multiple times in Battle. I just don't remember if it was the absolute end.
Yeah.
And they're gonna keep doing that because I know that happens again in, what is it, Sonic and the Black Knight, and probably something else. I don't know. Yeah, no, it's the worst kind of Sonic ending. But
That is a underwhelming ending.
of course, it is not the true ending. You should know how these things work by now. And I do want to congratulate Dimps for finally figuring out how to make the special stage process not abhorrent dog shit.
You mean by just making them like things to find, and then you do the special stage and you get the emerald, and that's
Right.
it? There are no other hoops to jump through. They
Yeah.
just did it the Sonic 2 style like you're supposed to.
That is the smartest way to do it.
Yeah, you have multiple, I don't know what they're like weird spinning pulley devices that just float around in Sonic's levels. And you grab on, you boost until it opens a portal. You do need to have enough boost energy, but that's an acceptable thing. You're going to be conserving that if you're searching for them anyway. And then the special stages themselves are probably the best version of the half pipe to ever exist.
Yeah, no, these special stages are not that bad. I have to say this really does meet like a level of okay, I will tolerate this. Simply because when I first had this game as a kid, I did collect all the Chaos Emeralds. Like that might be the only Sonic game I did that with. So it must have really not been that terrible. Yeah, these special stages, they do get difficult, but they're not too bad. And
because your
it's pretty
precision
neat controlling with the stylus.
Yeah, the DS stylus gives you so much more control over the character. It's the acceleration in the normal half-pipe stages with the D-pad that makes them feel so weird all the time. And you don't even have to jump over anything. You can like fling off on the sides to jump, but you don't have to hop over any bombs. It genuinely is a perfectly decent minigame, which is a very high bar for special stages typically.
Truly.
Yeah.
They do have like touch QuickTime event mini games, but those are not too hard most of the time.
No, they're not bad at all.
And yeah, no, getting the emeralds was not that big a pain this time around. But that of course leads into we have a final story campaign, which is it's what you expect. It's weird how it starts because they're just kind of hanging around. I don't really know where Blaze is when she gets attacked by the big fish mech.
So based on what happens later, I always thought that she was at like some abstract border between the dimensions or something. And
that's kind of what I assume.
Because she's pondering like, well, I got all the soul emeralds, but like, how do I get back?
I'm looking at the ending here, and it's also possible that like, because when they finish Unknown Zone, they kind of land in just sort of a wasteland environment, so it could be that they're right there. I just don't know why Blaze is alone for it.
Yeah.
Well, because Amy chased Sonic away.
Oh, there you go.
Fair enough. But yeah, Blaze gets the crap beaten out of her, and I think they do like Perfect Chaos in Adventure 1, where they suck the energy out of the Soul Emeralds, but leave the rocks there.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is confusing, because, yeah, I don't know why they just left the Soul Emeralds there. Probably because they thought that was all that, like, why even bother?
It's like, how these things work.
Like, no. Because in Sonic Adventure, it was that, quote, Chaos took the negative energy of the emeralds, not the positive energy. But that's not what happens here. they just take all the energy, and then
Right.
they're like, nah, we're cool. Just
But
it
that's the
still
thing
work.
is that they refill. So
Well, no, it's not. It's not because they wait, because that would they. I'm sure Eggman and Nega calculated for that. No, it's apparently it's just because we're a team and we're cool, and so I don't know. Maybe the Chaos Emerald jump started them for that. Maybe I can justify that.
I just feel
Um,
like if you don't smash the emerald into little tiny pieces, you should always expect it's going to regenerate its power.
Sure.
Until
apparently,
Unleashed, where that doesn't happen. So I don't
I
know.
didn't assume that because it seems like they just are like we're friends and that recharges them, which doesn't make any sense. So I don't think that was a blunder. I think that was just they weren't genre savvy. I don't blame them for
I
that.
guess.
What is strange though is I don't. Is it just me who had problem like following what Eggman and Nega were even talking about here?
I don't
Like,
know what they want because I feel like they don't want their universes to collapse by colliding with each other. But I don't know what whether this mech is meant to do that or what.
I thought it was pretty clear that they're trying to get both the Chaos Emeralds and the Soul Emeralds to obtain ultimate power because I did get the part where it's like, oh, the two of them interact in strange ways, and if they combine, like, will be unstoppable or whatever. But there's more to it than that because they very intentionally are like, well, yeah, so they drain the power and then they leave on purpose for some reason. And then they come back later and then they're like, okay, now we'll get the Chaos Emeralds. But, like, it's like, there's a bit where Eggman Nega is like, huh, we should have, like, won by now. And then Eggman's like, no, because Sonic has the Chaos Emeralds. And he's like, oh. But, like, they knew that because they wanted the Chaos Emeralds. And there's a bit where, like, they're like, we detect the Chaos Emeralds. I don't know. I should have, like, written down the exact lines, but it comes off very confusingly. And
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to lure Sonic into a trap, and that's why they leave Blaze there. But they say it in the weirdest way.
Yeah. Well, either
Mm.
way, it's time for a good old fashioned super battle. And our second dual super battle of the series featuring our man Supersonic, obviously, and a Sol Emerald powered Blaze. First girl in the series with any kind of super form, and it is Burning Blaze.
Burning
Baby.
Blaze. Okay. I wasn't sure what it was called.
Well, it's not like the game says it.
Right.
Um, yeah, we haven't mentioned before now, but there's just a little detail where before every boss battle, the character like ascends through an abstract tunnel. It's kind of strange, but
Oh yeah.
it's neat that here both the characters do it at the same time and say their respective lines before the fight. That is neat. But yes, you jump into the fight and holy heck, Wrapped in Black is. I'm biased, but this is definitely my favorite super battle theme ever.
Wrapped in black.
Nothing is ever gonna top this for me.
It is a
It'll be
truly
really
excellent boss
hard
track.
to. It'll be really hard to top it, I think.
Oh, so you loved it too?
Oh yeah, no, it was awesome.
Okay, yes.
I think it's possible to top it, but it's going to be damn hard.
It's just chilling. It sounds extremely climactic.
Yeah.
Like everything hinges on it. And yeah, I mean it's in the Rush style, so
Sure.
it
Yeah,
gets
that's
points
the thing
there.
is that it's still Naganuma's sort of usual funky
Right.
style, but it's got these like choirs going on in the back
Yeah.
as it does with the percussion and all that, and it also samples Malcolm X.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was really interesting.
So my understanding of this, because you hear that and you're like, huh? It's like that's a surprising thing to see in a Sonic game. I'm not really complaining
Yeah.
personally, but my personal politics aside, it's like what did he mean by this? And apparently, um, all of Naganuma's samples he just got off of various sound libraries, and that was
I
just in there.
mean,
So
that makes sense.
complete coincidence, but it's still really
Sure.
funny.
And it makes for like a really good sample for the track.
Yeah, no, it is a great track, but
It really is.
And I'm
it's
gonna have to put
climactic.
out there for anyone who's not aware, because I wasn't aware for a number of years. There was an officially released soundtrack for this game, and in it there are remastered versions of themes, and the version of Wrapped in Black in there is just that much better. Highly recommend.
Yes, it's like a CD quality soundtrack instead of the Bit Crush DS quality.
Yeah.
And
It's
this is like
really
one of the
good.
only Sonic games to get that. Because
Yeah,
like
it's interesting.
the advanced games don't have that. Like 1 and 2 got the
So,
remastered for the mobile ports.
so I'm wondering if it was just because were the tracks originally made on with the CD quality in mind, and then bit crushed for the DS?
The digital versions are referred to as the digital remaken tracks,
Okay.
apostrophe included. So I assume it's Naganuma wanting to have versions of his work available.
Sure.
And also, those are gone now. You have to find those on YouTube. I don't think they're on any actual official services anymore. I think there might be
course.
some weird rights stuff going on with the music to these.
Of course, because we can't have
Wouldn't be
nice things.
surprised. That happens.
Well, it's
We can't have nice
Naganuma
things.
who has, I think, some domain over his own music. That's why he doesn't
Sure.
work with SEGA anymore, and that's part of the reason, possibly, that they're not re-releasing Jet Set Radio or anything.
Yeah,
Although, granted,
actually-
Jet Set Radio Future has a million different artists working on it that would have to be removed, probably, in a re-release.
Right. Right.
So, it's a good thing that Xbox emulation is pretty decent. Anyway. So the
that
actual
was a
boss...
very worthy tangent, because that is excellent in the background, but yes, boss
Right.
battle.
The actual boss itself is, for some reason, called Exception?
I don't know why, but like
That is a weird
that
name.
just sounds cool, so I'll accept it.
Exception to what?
I think that's the zone name.
It is, technically speaking.
Because the boss is
Um,
Egg Salamander.
Okay.
But I don't know. I always thought like there's an exception in the code of the universe.
Oh, of course.
Why
yeah,
not?
well,
Sure.
whatever's going on with that, we spend this battle switching between Supersonic and Burning Blaze against Eggman and Nega, respectively.
Yes, I like how the game emphasizes on the other screen that finally each character is facing their own respective Eggman, which they haven't for the whole game. So it's got an extra personal sort of element to the fight.
Yeah. And I would say, as a boss, it's okay. It's mostly fair.
It's fine.
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna pretend that it's incredibly beyond any of the other stuff we've seen, but again, nostalgia. I'm having a good time when I'm playing it. I think it's at least perfectly good supersonic gameplay.
Yeah, in the
Sure.
echelons of Supersonic final bosses, this is not one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
The Sonic version is kind of annoying because they go the route of deflecting the shots, which we've seen
Yeah.
before.
I had a lot of annoyance with the Sonic version. The
That
Blaze
can be
version is like piss easy.
well. I love that Blaze. She plays by different rules. I swear. Just as Sonic is like, oh, Eggman's getting away. Guess I can't get him, so that we can continue our little feud or whatever.
A little charade.
Yeah, Blaze is like, no, I am not going to wait for you to stupidly shoot a shot so that I can hurt you. I'm just going to hit you myself with a fireball.
Yeah, she's got Kamehamehas.
It's a Hadouken. Kamehameha has,
Okay,
a beam
fair.
that trails
That's an
behind
actual
it. But
Well, whatever. It's a super form. It's a Kamehameha.
it's a Ki Blast, at least.
Okay, Ki Blast. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I think that...
That is something I've wondered why Supersonic doesn't get.
Yeah, so deflecting the shots is annoying for a couple reasons. One, the boss moves up and down, and his hitbox is not huge.
Yeah.
And, there's two things that you can deflect. You can deflect his green projectiles, which those just go in a straight line, so they're usually okay if you're close to him.
Yeah,
but there's
those are
also
pretty
his,
bad.
spinning laser cannons that he shoots at you that roll around you. And those are the ones that piss me off, because it's really easy to either get hit by the lasers or to just miss. And you can get stun locked pretty easily in this fight.
Yeah.
There are a healthy amount of rings, thankfully, although they're stuck at the top and bottom of the screen, so you can't always see them.
It's quite easy to stay alive in this fight, as long as you're staying aware.
Although this boss does have two attacks, one with Eggman's missiles and the other with Eggman Nega cutting reality in half. I don't know. where both of them can actually damage you and make you lose rings, which that speaks against the design ethos to me.
So Eggman
Oh,
Eggman Nega can also do it if they grab Blaze, for the record. Secondly, we've already seen that before. Actually, that I believe is in every single, maybe not Advanced 3, supersonic fight that Dims has done though so far.
hmm.
So that's nothing new.
Okay,
It
maybe I'm
offends me
forgetting.
normally. What? Yeah, so in Advanced 1, the little discs can envelop you, and then they chop rings out of you. In Advanced 2, if the boss sucks you in and freezes you, then you lose rings there too.
I stand corrected.
But
Hmm.
so first of all, it's nothing new. But it does annoy me a little bit because for lore reasons, because I'm like, oh, they're super forms, like they should be invulnerable. But I have no problem with it in this fight because the Egg Salamander is literally powered by the Soul Emeralds. So, sure, fine.
I
Fair enough,
suppose.
I guess.
And honestly, I do kind of like it to ramp up an extra dangerous attack. That's neat.
No, I
But
mean, opening a black hole
Hmm.
is still cool. I just
well, yeah, and that's awesome. Which leads into I like that you switch between Sonic and Blaze, but unlike in like Adventure 2, where you switch between Shadow and Sonic, as we alluded to, I like how each version of the Egg Salamander, which by the way, is it the same one or is it two different robots?
I
I
think it's two
honestly don't know.
different. I think it's two different robots, but they're the same robot.
I think
Or
it's
same
it's the
kind of
same
robot.
robot in different orientations, and when they go through the thing, it's switching pilots.
Okay, that is what I
Oh,
thought too.
okay, maybe.
But anyway, they have different attacks for each character, and that's really neat. I always thought between the claw and the whole ripping reality in half, Nega's version seems to be more like fierce. Um,
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little more
I
scary, a
like
little more
that.
sinister.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
yeah.
wish the character reflected that.
But yeah, I have a good time here. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I
but
mean
yeah,
it's a fine enough
I
fight.
understand. It is again as always a little jarring that the gameplay is completely different for the rest of the game. But having played lots of Sonic games at this point, I'm now used to the supersonic formula. Not so
For a
much when I first played this game.
for a boss that falls into all of the usual supersonic trappings, it could be a lot worse.
Hmm.
Yeah. So after however many hits, maybe 8, I don't know. This is the only boss with no health bar. The boss
Yeah,
goes
that's true.
down. The walls between dimensions slowly rebuild, and Sonic and Blaze are alone to have this weird little mutual respect moment. Maybe
Yeah, I mean I
I,
think
I've
that's
Yeah.
what it is.
I've always been curious about whether this was some kind of ship tease because they have a weirdly intimate body language toward each other that you don't usually see in these games.
I think they bonded over fighting the two Eggmans.
Maybe, yeah.
It's hard to say. Who
I don't think
knows?
they're trying to say anything beyond that.
But yeah, I think Bruce is probably correct.
Probably, I don't know. It feels ambiguous to me, but I'm also not a huge Saunays guy, so I'm just telling how I see it.
I mean,
Um,
I'm not a huge fan of shipping characters in general, unless it's a joke. Then I'm all for that.
oh,
Uh,
of course.
I will say there's definitely a moment there at the end where the two of them like, well, I guess it's time to part ways,
Right.
and they like grab onto each other and like hold on until they literally can't any longer and let go.
Yeah, they're like
Um,
falling through reality, doing like the Spirited
Mm,
Away ending pose.
they are, yeah.
yeah, it's a
Um,
sweet little moment.
and it's funny because it's like I can't believe I'll never see this guy I've spent a collective 30 minutes with again. Which of course is funny because like you get to the end, and it's like wow, I guess I'm home forever now. Except Blaze just kind of realizes that okay, if she keeps the Soul Emerald power under control without the Chaos Emeralds interfering, maybe then she can just come here whenever she wants.
I guess
Huh?
so.
What is that? What they say?
They say something like that. It's really weirdly worded.
Yeah.
I didn't get that at all. I'd have to go back and look, but I literally, seriously, I missed that.
I mean, that
Somehow.
does explain why she ends up showing up in other games.
She says I'll see him again. She definitely says that.
Right.
Well, I thought that was just like, oh, I know fate will bring us together sometime in the future. I didn't think that was the
It's got to do that
implication.
somehow.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know if it explicitly says she can go there whenever she wants. That's me, but
Okay. Well, I did not think
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I guess that's conjecture, but that's kind of what I thought also.
that's the current idiom of the series is that she can do that. So
Right, yeah, 'cause she shows up in other games.
I honestly have not played any other games where Blaze shows up, so I have no knowledge of that really.
oh
Fair
wow.
enough.
My one bit of lore addition here is to ask before this fight, Eggman Nega like taunts Blaze, being like, "Oh yeah, Blaze never really understood the true potential of the Soul Emeralds." So after this fight, I had a thought because Blaze is like, now I kind of understand them more. Did she never go super before, and Sonic like showed her how?
That's what I assume because
Yeah.
I'm guessing she never had any reason to.
That would be my assumption as well.
That's interesting. I like that.
But yeah, that's the end. They go through the credits. There's more ending stills. We have officially added a new member of the cast, even though they're trapped in an alternate dimension for the majority of their runtime. This is something that they need to figure out a way around. Is to if they want to have Blaze keep showing up, which I want them to do, they
Yeah,
have
I mean,
to
I'd
have
like to
some
see
better
it.
way than this.
I'd like to see Blaze continue to show up. I think she was pretty cool.
Yeah, but the whole alternate dimension thing makes it a pain when they have to contrive reasons for it.
Blaze
Yeah.
spinoff, do it.
I mean, I'd buy it.
Put every cartoon and comic character that you still have the rights to in Blaze's dimension.
You know, sure,
Okay.
sure, why not?
There's this hilarious frame of the art at the end where Cream is crying because her friend has left, and Sonic lands behind her. But out of context, it really looks like he's about to shred up the dance floor.
It does look like he's like he looks like he's Fortnite dancing in the background.
Yeah, and with the "thank you for playing" that appears right under it is like, yeah, that's that's your windscreen, crying child.
I never
Crying
thought of
child
that
and
before,
default dancing Sonic.
but
What
yeah,
a better way
it
to end the
does look
game.
funny out of context.
What a better way to end the game.
But yes, that's Sonic Rush, everybody. It's pretty good, and holy crap, we managed
Yes,
to talk
it
for
is.
2.5 hours about it.
I know, I'm kind of impressed.
It's very, very worthy.
It is.
I, again, am very biased for reasons already stated, but yeah, I think it's pretty great.
Admitting you're biased is always a good thing.
I definitely make a point of that. I like that Dimps really tried for something more here. They didn't go all the way necessarily, but I guess they probably took opportunity going on to another different system, I guess. But they've done the advance for 3 games to shake things up a whole lot. Obviously there's the boost mechanic, that's kind of the biggest thing, but they also tried for a grander story to, I think, decent success.
Yeah, yeah. At least if you play both, if you only play Sonic's, it's like, wow, that was fucking dumb. But
and the
Yeah.
soundtrack will stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
actually kind of criminal that Naganuma never composed another Sonic game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not around for Rush Adventure, but Rush Adventure's
Damn.
soundtrack is also great. But it's
Fair enough, but that's still disappointing to hear.
Well, I've been telling people to play both Jet Set Radio games for like 7 years now, so I'm not going to tell you it again. I was scared that I was gonna not like this game as much as I used to, but that didn't happen. I still really enjoyed it. We've talked about the problems. I don't like Altitude Limit, and I don't like most of the bosses from a pacing standpoint.
Yeah.
But I like Blaze. I like they finally improved on the special stages. I love the soundtrack. The stage aesthetics, we didn't really go much into the visual graphics design other than the models thing, but they look fine, certainly better than the advanced games due to the increased resolution. There's nothing really revolutionary about them, but they look good. And, successfully created a fan favorite character with a proper beginning and end to her character arc, which almost never happens, it feels like. And for modern Sonic protoplasm with the boost, it's a very successful first attempt for how things are going to get a little hairy with Unleashed and Forces, which I don't like as much. But yeah, no, it's a good time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we didn't, as I said, we didn't mention much about the change in voice cast from Advance 3 to this, but we're going to talk about that more in a game with more voice acting, like Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh, look, what's next on the list? It's Shadow the Hedgehog. You guys are going to see us talk about Shadow the Hedgehog next week. Aren't you excited?
I mean, you expecting the audience to respond?
I don't know. I
expecting
thought I
us
was
to
doing like a
respond?
Dora the Explorer thing where they gotta click on the map and get the little song, and I don't know what that's supposed to tell me. Anyway, that's gonna be next time. For right now, we are
Oh boy.
finished. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, criticism, or feedback, you can reach us at the link tree shown in the description. I finally got a Blue Sky invite, which means that we're on there now. Hopefully that'll overtake the much worse site. And
Besides
with all that
must not be
said,
named.
thank you all so much for watching. Have a great night, and take care.